All right, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen is leading a picket to dissolve the ANC-EFF-run eThekwini Municipality. The party says it is planning to launch a rescue plan for KwaZulu-Natal from the coalition-run municipality. Let's take you live there now. He's on the podium.
Simply taken for granted. We've gotten used to living with a government that just doesn't care about the people on the ground. We've gotten used to living without critical services like water and sanitation and transport. We've gotten used to living with an under-resourced police service. We've gotten used to living without jobs. And we've gotten far too used to living with hospitals that no longer treat the sick and keep our citizens healthy. And most recently, we've been forced to get used to living without electricity. Now, while these things that we've lost under a government that has failed to deliver are things that cause riots and revolutions in other countries, we in South Africa did something different. We adopted the most South African attitude of all. We made a plan. Our families have made a plan. When the schools failed, those who could sent their children to private schools. When the ANC destroyed public transport, people bought cars. Those who could afford it installed solar electricity. But of course, we know that the majority of citizens in eThekwini and in this province cannot afford to do that. They don't have the money because they don't have jobs. They can't go and put in a solar system in their home. They can't sink JoJo tanks and pumps to put rainwater up into their homes. But they also made a plan. They formed stokvels to help in emergency medical situations. They made a plan to help community police forums and street committees keep the citizens safe. And that is a unique South African resilience in make a plan. Make a plan. But it's also now time to face up to the other side of that story. Because for far too long, this government has abused the resilience of our people. It has taken each and every one of you and each and every one of the citizens out there in our communities for granted. Now, among the many things you've heard Cyril Ramaphosa say recently is that he praises the resilience of the South African people. Let me tell you today that when he praises your resilience, he doesn't mean it as a compliment, because the ANC are laughing at you. You've had to make a plan around their failures while they continue to loot, they continue to benefit. We are left to make a plan. And they are sitting in the mansions that you pay for. They're being driven around in the cars that you pay for. They don't have load shedding in their homes because they've got generators and fuel that you pay for. They don't worry about criminals because they're surrounded by police officers that you pay for. They are laughing at you, and they are laughing at every one of our citizens. They have convinced themselves. They have convinced themselves that the South African people will always just make a plan and will never, ever hold them accountable for their failures. But I'm here today with an urgent warning, not only for eThekwini and KwaZulu-Natal, but for the country. Because there's one thing that the ANC is busy taking away from people in eThekwini, in the province and around the country. And it's something that we're not going to be able to just make a plan to get around. It's not something we're going to be able to just work around. The latest thing that the ANC is taking from you now is your water. Your water is gone. Now, we all know that water is life. No human being, no biological organism can survive without water. We can't grow food without it. We can't drink. We can't make sure that we have a reliable sewage system. We can't do safe medical procedures. Without clean water, the human being will die. It is necessary. Amanzi impilo. Water is life. Without water, there is death. So by taking away your water, the ANC is in effect threatening the lives of each and every one of you and each and every one of the people who live in our community. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, black or white, Indian or colored. Without water, we will all die. Now, the latest crisis created by the ANC couldn't be more urgent. Here in eThekwini, the crisis is moved beyond the theoretical. Under the ANC in eThekwini, we are already on stage 16 of water shedding. Stage 16. The community of Bester have not had water for 14 years. It's made the life of the citizens of Bester a living hell, where elderly residents and those on SASSA grants have to pay people money to bring buckets and containers full of water into their homes. Instead of fixing the infrastructure, instead of getting into the ground and fixing the pipes and taking the money that's required to replace pipes that should have been replaced 20 years ago, what do they now do? They're taking your money and they're giving lucrative water container contracts to their friends. So the ANC and their cronies are getting rich off the back of the suffering of our people. And I don't know about you, but I'm angry about that. And I hope that you are too. Because it should make every person in this country angry.
DA leader John Steenhuisen there leading a call for the coalition of the ANC-EFF in eThekwini to be dissolved. Him basically saying that this government has abused the resilience of the people and taken them for granted. Speaking about water shedding, highlighting one of the areas that's been affected there, which is called Bester, saying it's one of the areas that is struggling.